See the shine? Clever, isn't it? Very clever. Right, hello everybody. We're at a fairly noisy Sykes Harley today, Harley in Enfield. This is, anybody who's not been here, it's a fantastic dealership and they got so many lovely bikes and their stock of Enfields is really big now, which is really good. So we might get slightly interrupted today, but to the point in case. All right, so I really wanted to show you this Goan because I probably, with a lot of people, might have seen some of the press photos of this and thought, ooh, that's a little bit much. That's a bit over the top, isn't it? But do you know what? I came past the other day and I thought I'd nip in and see if they got this going because I wanted to have a look at it. And I was shocked at how lovely it is. So thanks to the guys here at Sykes Enfield because they allow me to, you know, hog this bike for the morning and have a really good look at it. Because there's some design features on here. When I had a close look, there's some real great design features on this, which you don't see on other Enfields. And when you consider the price is only another £100 more than the actual classic 350, so this comes in about 4,700. It really is impressive. So thanks again to the guys at Sykes here because it's very kind of them to use this bike because they don't have a demo. A lot of the dealers don't have demos. And these bikes are going out really quick. So they've only been allocated a certain amount of bikes and they've already sold the first one and they've literally just come in and this one will go out straight away, I'm sure it will. So I wanted to show you some of the design features which makes it different. There's one massive feature on this bike which other Enfields don't have because this at the end of the day is a bobber and they are calling it a bobber style of bike and there's something about the back end on this bike which you won't see on any other Enfield. So let's get into that side of it. I'm going to show you some of the features which I think are fantastic on this bike and then the really great feature. Let's have a look, come on. Right, I'm going to go front to back on this bike and just pick out these really interesting bits. So there's lots of bits on here which are so unique to this bike, which I think are really worth pointing out because I haven't noticed anybody else pointing this out yet. So obviously the obvious thing is the wheels. Now we've got tubeless rims on here. Now I've been told actually by a tyre guy, but the rims that Enfield use are very high quality actually. And you got in this Goan colour, in the blue, in the teal, you've got this really lovely, it's not really gold, it's I don't know what you call it, it's like an orangey champagne-y something, I don't know what colour, but it's lovely. But you've got the tubeless rims, so they are tubeless, these tyres on here. And it becomes more noticeable on the back because although the rear wheel is smaller, so you've got a 19 on the front and you've only got I think a 16 on the back, but the profile of the tyre is different, so it actually has the same sort of rolling mass, if you like, or the rolling circumference of the standard classic. So obviously these wheels, and then you can see this this blue you get on here. This is like a coating just to protect the white wall, I believe. So the one thing which is quite interesting on this bike is you might have noticed the colour of the white wall tyres. They're blue. Now, when I came up and saw this bike the other day, and I saw it, I noticed how much more subdued the actual overall appearance of the bike was, and that was to do with the blue on the white wall. Now the blue on the white wall isn't actually a colour option, it's actually a protective coating that goes on those tyres when they're shipped in, and when the bikes are prepped for sale they go white. But I thought it made a huge difference. It toned the bike down a little bit. It lost that, people might understand what I'm talking about here, of a certain age, that Pee Wee Herman look. And it brought the whole bike together with that matching colour. I don't know what you think about that, but I just think it really works with that blue. You can't leave it like that because the actual blue on those tyres, it's almost like, you know, you get like the tyre black, it's just been painted over. So it's completely ununiform and blotchy and horrible. But from a distance, I think it looks amazing, absolutely amazing. It was just one of those really odd quirks I found out about this bike. But I just think it works. I just think it works. Anyway, that's a personal thing. So, coming back, you got the different foot position on here. So this is actually set slightly back compared to the Meteor. The Meteor brake pedal will come about here. So it is slightly different. So again, different positioning, individual to this bike. The other thing before I go any further on this, which is actually a really big difference, is the finish to the frame. Now on most of the Enfield frames, you'll notice a gloss black finish to the sort of powder coating, but this is like a satin, and that's really important for this bike, because I'm going to come on to these bits about this bike which really accentuate the important parts of the bike, like the tank and the colours. Because if you think about the teal, the classic 650 in the teal, you know that it's all teal, the frame, everything, okay, which to me was too much. What they've done by doing the frame in satin is that it's muted that black, which means you get more emphasis on the colour that they've done the main panels in, like the tank, which again is usual, typical high standard that Enfield do. So that's really, really lovely. So the satin is actually an important choice in frame colour because it mutes that. Now I've noticed somebody else saying that they wish that they'd put chrome onto here, or bare engine colours on here. Now they've done satin to the main part, the main casing of the bike, but the side casings are gloss, okay? Now to my mind, that's a really clever choice, because what they're doing, if you had this all satin, okay, you would lose the engine. You would lose the engine in the whole outlook of the bike, or the whole look of the bike. But by making this gloss, it just means that it catches the light. It catches the light better. It's a bit like someone doing a painting. You know, they put slight highlights in people's hair and stuff just to equalise the picture, if you like. And that's what they've done here. They've given this gloss here just so it catches the light, so you can actually see the engine, but it doesn't overpower everything else. Incredibly clever. And you can see better here the satin finish on the frame, which is really lovely. Going on to the actual colours of the bikes, so now we've got the black, we've got the blue, and I think we've got the red and the teal. And I think this is where this really excels, this teal colour, because it's the tank and all the rest of the panels are not lost because you've got like a whole wash of teal. This I think they should have done to the 650. They should have done it like this, not overpower it. So the other thing, which I think is really, really important and really nice touch, is this. So the bar clamp is different to the standard classic. You know, you've got the sort of wrap round on the classic. You've got a more straightforward 4-bolt clamp, which means you can move the handlebars easier, and if you wanted to, you could change the bars. Okay, that is a nice feature. That is a really nice feature. Obviously we've got the nice skunk stripe down there. Again, I love skunk stripes, as you know from my Triumph. Beautiful tank finish, beautiful tank, but it doesn't get lost because of you've got the black everywhere rather than the whole thing covered. The seat is really nice because it's built for this bike specifically. You've got this nice little badge emblem in there, which is really good, and you've got the rear seat, which is easily detachable. It's a couple of bolts and it just pops off. Now I really like that rear seat, and you've got the grab rails either side. Nice configuration that. Be nice if that fitted to the other bikes, but I think it is very specific to this one. The other thing we've got different is the exhaust. Exhaust is a different pattern compared to the classic 350, and it does work. It doesn't overpower the bike, which in things like the 650, I think the exhausts overpower it. They're too big. They're out of proportion. Remember I said so much about proportion on motorbikes, and I think this works really well on this bike. But now you're going to come on to my crowning glory. which I think is just a magic touch on this bike. And it's the rear mudguard. And you might think, why am I getting so excited about a rear mudguard? Well, the important thing with this bike, and when you compare it to the other models in the range, and particularly when you think about the classic 650, and if you go back and watch my video on that, how I was really disappointed in this part is that it didn't work because the mudguard didn't really match the profile of the tyre or the wheel. Now you think, when you look at this, you think, well, how have they managed that? How does that look like that? Well, it's because they've mounted the mudguard to the swinging arm. Okay, this beautiful bracket here, this is a lovely bracket. This is not plastic, this is steel. This beautiful bracket, which comes back here and onto there, is actually supporting the mudguard. And it's supporting the mudguard and clamping it to the swinging arm by this bracket. Now this is a difference, they completely changed this swinging arm in terms of its adaptation. And if you could probably see, you got the wiring and everything goes through there. Now I think, yeah, so there's your other joining part there. And I think that's like because that allows that to swivel slightly, I believe. I'm not too sure of that. But when you sit on the bike, the actual mudguard and wheel stay the same. They go in unison when you're going over bumps. And you have this lovely effect of the wheel coming back up, etc. There's something quite unique, and hopefully you can see this in the little video I'm putting to the side of it, how unique that is in its style of action. And it looks like a proper bobber. This is a proper bobber. It's not pretending to be anything else. That's how a bobber should be, as far as I'm concerned. And this lovely profile up here just works. And do you know what? I actually prefer it with the rear seat in place. I think it works better with the rear seat in place rather than just that. That's to my mind, because I like the angle of that. And it emphasizes this rise and fall in unison. Because what it means you can now do, you can now have the mudguard in the same profile and at the same radius or circumference as the tyre. It fits the tyre properly. And that's what's missing from the other models. In the other models, you have this really deep mudguard where the tyre and the suspension, which are linked, but the mudguard is linked to the actual frame, is that the wheel and tyre go up and down in here, okay? This doesn't. This moves in unison. And it's fantastic. Absolutely superb. The other thing that's really nice and unique is the rear light cluster. And again, I think that really works on this. This is unique to this. When you look at the other ones on other bikes, these are separate. This actual light fitment looks like a proper vintage chrome. It's not. It is plastic, but it suits it better. And it's really nice. It really, really works. But this is lovely. I think this is a great. And it took me a little while to work out what was going on here, how that works. But it's this. It's clamping it to the swinging arm makes a huge difference to this bike. It really, really does. Also, you get some more embroidery and stuff on the bike. But I think they made a great job. I think they made an absolutely superb job of this bike. They really have. And it's that combination of putting black in there to the frame rather than completely plastering it in one colour. And just clever, these are clever tricks. These are clever design tricks of making that panel, that casing gloss, which just gives the light. When light shines on it, it just allows you to see the end. You can see it there. You see there. You see it there. It's just catching light, which then brings the proportion of the bikes together. You're probably going to say, "What is this idiot going on about?" But I get quite excited about stuff like that. Someone's really understood about light. That's the problem with being a photographer for many years. Is people understanding light and dark. And they've done it with this bike just by these simple things. Satin frame, gloss there, you know, you can see the light shining on it. It's absolutely superb. And it also does that with the chrome exhaust. The chrome will obviously accentuate that as well. Absolutely amazing, amazing. Credit where credit's due. And of course the lovely paintwork. I do love this. These are the flowers, like Goan flowers and stuff like that. You know, they really know what they're doing. See the shine? Clever, isn't it? Very clever. So, yeah, absolutely fantastic. And these are gloss. I don't think they do that on the other models, but these are gloss, which I think has helped a little bit as well. Really, really clever. What a great piece of design. What a great piece of design. It's almost like they're giving it to a designer. You know, you know, it's like the Picasso, isn't it? Give that to Picasso, he'll make it right. And they do. And someone's really understood light and dark and shade and design and all the rest of it. Fantastic. Right, so I hope you like that little look at the the Goan. This is a bike that I sort of almost disliked the minute I saw it on the press shots, but now I've seen it in the flesh. Do you know what? It's actually a really, really cool piece of kit. It's fantastic, and with all those extra bits on here with the wheels and this rear, I think it's superb. And do you know what? I think it would lend itself to even further customization. I'd be so interested to see what this bike would be like with lower bars in it. It's very noisy today, as you can tell. I'm fighting Harleys and emergency vehicles. Well, I'm Minister Police. We'll get some donuts. But I think if you had a lower bar on here, do you think how cool that would be? And with that clamp that I showed you, this is a much easier bike to do that sort of work on it. That's where these things, the differences between this and the classic 350, I think make so much difference. Right, hope you enjoyed that. My camera, we got Storm Amy coming, so my camera's floating about there. I can see it floating about. Right, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next episode. But take care. If you get a chance to get down to Sykes, or any Enfield dealer, but Sykes obviously in Sussex, come and see this, because I think you'll be really impressed with it. Right, see you later, everybody. Ride safe, please, in the wind, even though it's sunny. Take care, everybody.